Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're actually going to be continuing our video diary series, and I want to talk about the month of July. We are definitely going in order, but I am now recording in December, so it's going to be interesting to kind of really dive in and finish these months of reflection essentially for what they are now. But I think that December and the winter is the perfect time to be reflecting on things in life. So I'm kind of just excited to get into it. And with that being said, welcome. I'm Fabian. If you haven't been here before, we love talking about music and just having conversations around music. So welcome to the club. My cat thinks this is a game. He likes a little setup, which must be good. It must be like an intriguing setup. But, anyways, July took me a while to create, but July was the simplified constant city of steel. And it's interesting that I named it this because I feel like now at this time of year, I've realized such a hardening in my life. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So it was interesting to be connected to these words of gray and steel, strength, and even simplification. Simplification is often a theme in my year at some point or another, and it just has become such a constant in my life where I every time I look at things and see things in a perspective, simplification is the one thing I always come back to really make definitive answers or look for what I might need. And oftentimes, my brain is more overactive than I would like. And I can always calm myself down with just needing to simplify. Um, and so it's been one of my favorite personal lessons that I solo discovered. But it was very prominent for July, and that's kind of why I named it this. Um, I really like the title actually. The photo was difficult for me. I remember. Let's talk about the picture a little bit, but it's a gorgeous picture, and I just knew I wanted it to be gray. And I had all these different pictures, if I remember correctly, and I knew it was going to be city based. Um, but it wasn't until quite this one day that me and my partner went on an adventure, and I went into Union Station, and I had actually, in all my years of living in Chicago, have never been inside of Union Station. And they have these little beams around everything, and just the infrastructure was really cool. And so I took this picture, and it was perfect. It was perfect for this. I cleaned her up and made her a little bit more brighter in places that she should be, and accentuated the darkness. But I just love how the beams almost look mirrored in everything, but you can also tell a bit about it. And there's a little part in the picture that peeks and says Chicago. I just like those little details, because this would have been a really nice picture, truly, if it was all just the gray beams without the lighting. But I think that it adds that little bit of personality, um, that really makes it stand out. And it's this hint of blue that we've so carried throughout the year as well that I really enjoy. Um, to talk a bit about the biography, July was the most summer a month could possibly be. It was art, it was nature, it was the return of a type of confidence one hasn't felt in quite some time. Not just confidence, but a type of internal security and height. It's a state of constant that one reaches and wants to remain at, While it is achievable, it is also still learning a new trait, and with anything new, the perfection of it requires a practice. This is the first playlist where I was able to be so present in my surroundings that I forgot to even write out a script for it. Usually, I can achieve this a few days before the month's end to gather my collected and current thoughts, but this time we are in the middle of another month reflecting, which I think is still okay because I am able to remember better what even occurred. July started off with a stillness, but ultimately, what I learned the best was when in doubt, simplify it out. What resulted was in a shorter, more refined, and focused playlist, still adapting sounds that are evolved but home to me. Radiohead is becoming an ever so present force in my year, and I fear once my corrected education on them dissolves, they will wipe away many favored bands. Automation makes its appearance, a sound that truly guides me towards the comfort of fall but allows a present moment in stillness. A lot of these men truly seem to speak for me, and the lyrics write out things I wasn't even sure I was feeling, but put it into better words than I can. All these artists and all the feelings within the body of July truly make for a steel built city that I can live in, which is true. I actually wonder something. Um, and while I look for this wonderment, we'll talk about it. But yeah, so the description really does kind of explain what I was kind of already referencing in the beginning of this video. It's just, yeah, I don't know. July was very almost grounding in a way for me. Summer really, I feel like the feeling of summer and maybe the height of how much sun we get, like gives us so much more energy than we're used to. So it's kind of a nice thing to really pick up on. But yeah, I don't know. It is true. It's like it's a constant that you can reach, but you will never fully achieve because it's just not how life works. You're always going to have these moments where you're a little bit more energized and where you're a little less energized, and like that's completely okay. It's normal. You should want to be on that, like kind of ride those waves, you know? So there's that. I even infused my coffee today. She's got some cinnamon grounds that I boiled with the water before I mixed it in with the coffee. She's got a little bit of ginger and some turmeric, so I gave her a nice little fall spiciness. Poured in some oat milk, gave it a dash of honey, and honestly, it's the perfect cup of coffee right now. I was never a big coffee person. I'm a very big tea person, and but my partner is massively loves coffee, so we have it all the time. And I've been really getting adjusted to a slightly more morning routine. Um, and it does help. It really does. But I'm not big on drinking coffee super often because it does make me pretty more alive and jittery. But I have noticed that it helps me focus a little bit more in certain places that I like to be focused in. Um, I drank coffee like 2 weeks ago, and I think it's what kind of poured all of these like artistic ideas out of me because I was like, usually I'm awake, but like today that day I was very awake. um, but yes. So let's get into the music. We're going to talk a little bit about the albums that came out in the month of July. We don't have too many, but I do want to start with Cigarettes After Sex. Cigarettes After Sex came out with their album X's, and it is their third album, studio album, whatever you want to call it. And we've talked a bit about Cigarettes After Sex this year. So if you would like to go revisit some of those conversations, you might get a little bit more things that we discussed throughout. But I do like to save a brunt of my opinions for those albums when their due time comes. And I have been excited to talk about some of these. So let's do it. Cigarettes After Sex is quite an interesting artist. They are a group of men that have this very black and white aesthetic. And if you know Cigarettes After Sex, you know what I'm talking about. They have not changed this aesthetic since they've started, which totally fine, totally fair. If it works for you, it works for you. But they seem to take a lot of inspiration from older film, and they just have a very set concept on what they do and how they release. And it also kind of like keeps track of like a regular format. And what I mean by that is it's usually single, lead single, second single, like a month later, third single, and then right around that time you get the album. And that's kind of what they did. So it was nice to follow through with that. But I had such a much more magical experience with cigarettes after sex this year than I have with any album, I would say. I really loved their first project. Obviously, they have a lot of good little EPs, singles here and there that just warm my heart. Um, and I did really like album two. I liked Cry a lot, but it didn't hit me the way that this album hit me. And I think it was just the experience we had with it. Um, One they came out with Tahano Blue, which was just an unbelievably good song, like to start with. Because I was starting to feel with cigarettes, and I had felt like this. I was like, I think it's time for them to release some new music. It's been a while. And they were gearing up. They dropped a little like 2 song single drop, Bubblegum, and some other song that I can't remember. They were both good though. But I remember it took me time to grow with them. And then they released another movie. Another movie. They released another single, and something about it was titled with a movie. I don't think I paid much attention to that song, but then all of a sudden, it was like, those didn't matter. Here's our next single. Here's an album coming out. And I'm just like, yes, this is what I've needed. Um, the funny thing is, they also announced a tour, and I had really, really wanted to go. I was like, I don't think I can miss this. Um, but they helped me bring up a conversation that I've been wanting to bring up. And excuse my hair, excuse my ugly hair. The boys in the bands have got to get it together. And I feel like this is a good conversation after my concerts of the year video. Um, but the boys, when they tour, they have to be doing more on stage than what they give us. And this year has not proven that more to me than ever. A woman will get on stage and do an unbelievably well crafted job that obviously takes a really good team. And there is no doubt that playing an instrument live already takes up a mass majority of focus. But I have seen a lot of bands, and I have seen a lot of little gimmicks and playful moments and things like that. And I have seen cigarettes after sex before. Um, and ultimately, I know exactly what their aesthetic would be. And I honestly can't speak for this tour myself. I haven't been on social media. Like, I'm sure TikTok would have revealed a lot more of this to me than I could, imagine. But their tour was cool because when I seen them a couple of years ago, we sat on a balcony. It was a very beautiful show. Like, I'm telling you, if you're gonna go see them, go sit down somewhere because their music is meant to be listened and intaked like that. There is no doubt in my mind, and it would have been worth it just for that alone, just to hear this man's voice alone. It would be worth going to see Cigarettes After Sex. But there's a certain excitement to seeing somebody live, and it's like about there's also needs to be like stage presence. I'm not saying our guy doesn't have that, but it is just like a lot of standing around seeing like a black and white visual behind them while you're hearing something. So what threw me off was they were performing at the United Center, And I know a lot of people like cigarettes after sex, but I think that threw me off because I didn't realize, like, over the years how big their sound have gotten. And I just don't see a lot of, like, media traction about it. Maybe I don't follow them well enough or personally enough like that to really go. But I do follow all of their music. And I tend to do this a lot with male artists where I really only focus on following their music. I don't like watch a lot of their music videos. I don't really pay attention to their rollouts or things like that. Um and sometimes I don't know, I feel like it's this conversation of like artists' image and visual taking away from the music sometimes. This is a topic that I want to talk about in another video though, another day. So stay tuned for that. But I have to bring it up because it is true. And it might partly be like why I don't see it a lot. Because, right, we all have our algorithms. So maybe if I was invested a little bit more, the sun's coming out. Oh my God, I'm so happy. It's been such a gray day. This is beautiful. Like, tell me that's not so pretty. That was like actually really exciting. So, yeah, but I don't know. It affected my decision to not go see them. That I was just like, I have seen them before. I wanted to focus on people that I specifically haven't seen before. Because again, if you've seen the concert video, I've seen a lot of people, and I start to like get into this rotation. And the thing is, I want something new every time because that's part of the excitement, you know? And an artist, it is really cool to see an artist evolve when you go see them a second time and then see what they really worked on. But if you go to an artist and you see the same kind of setup, it starts to feel less exciting. So I just didn't want to kind of have that disappointment, even though I know the music was going to be good and hit. But again, I had to prioritize some other people this year. Um, and so unfortunately, I didn't get to see them live. But that no less took away from how good their album was. I will say this is the first album of theirs that I have felt like through and through was really good. I don't think they really had a miss. I didn't always go back to it, but there was a lot of it that I enjoyed right away. And so there's a lot of Cigarettes After Sex on this particular playlist. Um, and we talk about albums first in full just because when we just start to discuss the flow, it might help just being a little bit more of a background or foreground for you guys. The other album that came out this year was Glass Animals. I Love You So Fucking Much. The Glass Animals record, I feel like, was almost in a distinct class of its own this year. And I don't know how to describe that because they have an interesting combination of a sound that makes them so unique to themselves. It's very alternative, but also has so many different pop elements, I would say. And this felt like their most pop record. Like it made sense after the success of Heat Waves and everything. Um, so I feel like in terms of standalone records for Glass Animals, it wasn't my favorite above the collection of the four they have. But that didn't make it a bad album either. Like it's really good. It's a really good album on its own. They also had me with all of the spatial elements. I think that was my favorite part of everything. Like the way they boxed their vinyl set was shaped like a UFO. And I just feel like nobody has done a space theme so well in so long. Their website was gorgeous. The album cover was great. Even the singles that they had followed up like made so much sense with the concept and the worlds. I feel like they could have had a little bit more music videos, but even their music videos were really cool. I will say, for like artistic direction, a tear space, an airlock tear or something like that in space. That was such a good music video. But I really think that they could have had a couple more, maybe like two more to really explore the idea a bit. But the tour And this is what I'm talking about, elevated the conceptual experience so well because they had it, the stage was presented like you were on the spaceship with them and you were traveling with them through space as you went, but it felt so cool because it felt like a genuine like control room, and that's where they performed. And then above them was like a generator. Like it was so fucking cool. Like that, and that's what I'm saying. Like it was in a world of its own. It was just in its own class, in its own right, and it made it really hard to place with things. So they had some really good songs too, and they were really a highlight of this month. Um, and they did carry with me a little bit through. It wasn't my favorite alternative project of the year, but that didn't make it no less any good as it was. I guess I haven't really given you guys a rating for either of these projects so far, but Glass Animals, I would probably give them like a solid 8, like a 7.5 out of 10, actually. Um, I would give Cigarettes After Sex a little bit more, like an 8 out of 10, for sure. Maybe even a 9, like an 8.5 out of 10. Let's give them an 8.5. Okay, so then that's really it for albums. Let's just get into the flow of the playlist. This one opened with a song called Fog by Radiohead. I just want you to listen to it a little bit. Anything you want, it can be done now. And this is an underrated deep cut Radiohead song, just saying. But it came about because I was really Muichiro is my. We've talked about this a lot. Muichiro is my favorite Demon Slayer character, and I started making a conceptual playlist about songs that remind me of him. And I was like, "There's no song really named Mist or Fog or something like that." So I just so happened to look it up, and I was like, "Radiohead has a song called Fog." Clicked that shit right away and fell in love. And this is a song off of an EP, so it's not like on an official album or anything, but it's beautiful. Automotion is a band I think we've discussed a little bit, but I think we will discuss more in time. But there was a song called It Was Over Before It Began, and this just happened to be like that very soft indie rock um, that I really liked for the summer because it's a bit lighter, it's a bit warmer. It helps flow with a bit of summer a little bit more. But this is a gorgeous song. They haven't put out an official album, but they've put out a couple of EPs. Um, and I'm finding them at an early place in their career, so I'm putting you guys on, okay? I have listened to them and like gone through, but this is a very good alternative band. So listen to them. A lot of Cage the Elephant this year after their album came out. This song I really connected with. It's called What I'm Becoming. And it just speaks towards this progression of evolution that's been kind of throughout the themes that we've had throughout the playlists. Show Pony by Glass Animals, best song on their album, had to be here. And this is where like I was focusing on top 4 songs in the playlists, really accentuating the sounds that would be throughout it. And I felt like Sometimes I keep the best songs towards the end of the playlist, but like people don't always make it through, or they might shuffle through a little bit. But I felt like the intro has to be that, and there's always going to be very good songs that can also be at the end. You know, Hot by Cigarettes After Sex. This was perfect for summer. Like, this is romantic summer evening at its finest. Inside you. And I like them because I can actually sing their music since I have that lower register. When I try to sing more like a girl, it sounds so gay coming out of my mouth. Because my voice clearly can't get that high. But when I can sing on a deeper register, it's nice. Always be lost forever. Actually, I can't sing good at all. Let's just be honest. See, like, but I don't give a shit if I'm too delicate. When men can emotionalize like this and they only do it through music, I get it because you guys are, yeah. Um, the song American You was a very standalone thing. I slightly explored R.I.P. Dunes as an artist, with maybe like a couple of songs, but this was so nice to have that like started to include this upliftingness, which flowed into Omar Apollo's Drifting. Omar Apollo, when exactly did he come out with his album? But this was a beautiful song. This is a song that feels very in line with like this this year has been very adamant with like nostalgic bits, and you heard it with we like Ari started it with We Are Your Friends. You get a bit of it with Birds of a Feather and Billy. Ravina has a song that feels like that, and I just feel like a lot of artists had this very nostalgic feeling song in their projects, and this was Omar's, and of course I'm going to eat it up every single time, but it's beautiful. There is that chorus element that like changes the vocals, and it could be a sample from something. It would have been nice to hear him specifically sing that part, but it doesn't take away from the song for me. Victoria Monet's "Oh There With You." Jaguar 1, I will say, you guys, has some deep cuts on it that should be listened. So it was really nice. Paranoia by the Marias were on here. Of course, I pulled her in a little bit. Um, I put Glow by Omar Apollo on there, and it was this really nice, more emotional bit after a lot of these more pop elements, pop alternative elements. Um, I broke it up with Tripper on the Sun from Mr. Wives. This one is still a little bit more uplifting, but I remember this song really hitting me this year in the summer. It just, if you were watching my concert series, I talk a lot about full circles and not series. Excuse me. When I tell you guys my mind moves so fast, I have to slow it down sometimes. But in the concert series, I was talking about how this has been the year of full circles. And I feel like in the summer was when I was starting to catch like attention to a lot of those things that were coming up. And Trip Around the Sun, I liked it when it came out, but it was hitting me constantly around this time in the summer, and it was because a lot of those full circles were becoming present. And this is a song that I think I'll probably always come back to and learn something from. So that was really nice. It did include this more pop kind of progression. Lisa's Rockstar. I haven't liked a lot of pop music this year, but Lisa, can you teach me Japanese? I said, hi, that's my life, baby, I'm a rock star. She just had the energy and brought it. And this is the extended version. I've been enjoying a lot more extended versions of the pop songs just because they deconstruct all of the elements that a pop song has and extends them a bit to where it's more pleasing to the ear for me. I'm a big fan of like 5 minute songs, and I feel like the 2.5, 3 minute rush, it just lacks the authenticity that music so desires and craves, that it's like almost essential to have these extended versions now because it like really shows you where the effort and work goes into something. It's why I like Dua Lipa's extended versions of Houdini and Training Season a little bit more than their original ones, because there's certain elements that start to get brought out within a pop song that are so minimal that it feels lackluster, or it feels like you were going somewhere with that but you didn't. And I feel like the extended versions break down the skeleton of a song a little bit more, that they actually elongate those things and put the effort in where it was so desired. Um, so I felt like that with Lisa's Rockstar as well. So a lot of the pop songs that I did listen to this year, I was streaming their extended versions because they were giving me the full amount of what I needed from it in there. But her height and energy really went well into the more dance element that I put into July. Um, Walk the Moon released this project called The Lift Away, and Walk the Moon broke up a few years ago, but I think they're gonna every so often probably drop these like things where we didn't have music with them, but they did a really cool like project with like some of their old music, and they put out a Anna Sun Saint Lucia remix. And Saint Lucia wasn't like the coolest artist for me ever, but they had this fun dance song, and it's a long song, so it's like, you want to have a good time in the summer. This would have me in the club. This would have me in the club. Right, Waffle? I love this song so much so when it came out that like I literally have this song in an essay somewhere, and I broke it down and the lyrical meaning of it, but it also spoke to this full circle essentially for me this year. Sorry guys, I'm a little cold. But yeah, I don't know, it was really cool to like have this really emotional lyric heavy song be put into like this cool ass dance break, like, and then you just jam out to it, which helps lead into things like Guess. Around this time, Guess had not had a collaboration yet, and I had barely discovered it, and it was so good. But I'm not going to overplay Charlie. Then we go into a little bit more pop with Chapel. Super graphic, ultra modern girl. Love her. She is hands down one of the best songs. It's just so camp. Fugly Jeans. He doesn't have what it takes to be with a girl like me. This is the psychedelic that Dua was saying she was going to have in her album. And you can't come, with all these hyper mega bummer boys like you. Wow. Like, see, when a girl can bring up a gay in somebody, like, you know that it's good. Um, Put Spring Breakers in here too, because I thought that was a really good song. Completely slowed it down here. Lejos de ti made her appearance again. I was pulling in the Marias But she really helped just sometimes you have to immediately pull the sound back down after like having such a big height. And I feel like especially after spring breakers, like you just need this immediate calmness to like reset your ear in the playlist. But this is a very beautiful, dreamy song. And you hear the bubbles in the beginning, like you're underwater, you know. We've never left this, and the summer was just water, you know. Hideaway with cigarettes after sex. After the Marias is crazy. They unintentionally had like sister projects, and if you just get what I mean by that, you get what I mean. We'll go again in Marina like last. Cigarettes were so good. I didn't mention this when we were talking about the albums, but their experience of listening to it was beautiful and so memorable. Like, do you just hear how his fucking voice just flows? Like, what? But we went to a record shop listening party for this, and it was midday, and I was able to get a random box of vinyls for $5. If you've seen that video, I have it. It kind of sparked why I did videos this year, but it was really nice. And we just walked around this record shop listening to new music from them. And I started crying listening to one of their songs. I don't think it was this one. It might be towards the end of this playlist, but it struck a chord with me, like really. And it was the rollout of their album this year. Like we mentioned before, Tahano Blue is what they led with. They came out with Baby Blue Movie, which was honestly like the best song on this album and of the year. And then they came out with Dark Vacay, which was another really good song. And then they came out with the album, and it was just this like digest of what they. It's just so good, honestly. Their music is made for like A24 films, like The Lighthouse. Is the best way I can explain it, but they're so buttery. Ugh. Then the flow goes back into a little bit more upbeat. How I Learned to Love the Bomb was a softer song for Glass Animals, and their their music was hard to place in playlists. You know, like that's what I'm saying. Like their record was so standalone that like it fit, but like it was its own thing because they used all these spatial elements. Good for a year that had a lot of music with that quality, but still everything was kind of hard to place. After that, we took a little bit of a darker turn. This song, Does Anybody Love Me by Nessia. Really nice vibe. My friend sent it to me. It's this very nostalgic, again, upbeat kind of thing, sort of 80s ish element that really ties with songs like American You. Anybody out there? Is anybody free? Is anybody actually happy? Does anyone agree? This is what I'm saying. Lyrics with real thoughts behind it, you guys. Like, come on. More auto motion. Speaking the static really stripped us back down, brought in that soft rock element to like start pulling things together. And the playlist does take a bit more of an alternative turn from here for the rest of kind of it. You know, I put more Cigarettes After Sex. I put Creatures in Heaven from Glass Animals on here too after that. House of Glass is like this really upbeat Cage the Elephant song, kind of disrupting. I feel like you can tell where that's going to go. Into the cinematic Wonderful Nothing from Glass Animals. They appeared a lot at the end. Ooh, this was a nice little warm instrumental type of moment. It's called Sunny Eyes. Um, Also helped with like complementing certain sounds. Ruthless by the Marias. Yeah. She's a little bit more jazzy and warm, so it fits like the flow. Take It All by Machine Heart was like their second single. They haven't released any more after this, so I'm curious to where they're gonna go with their era, but heavy alternative, like that guitar is crazy. Lost in the Spinal Labyrinth by Automotion. She's one of the last songs that is about to close out this specific playlist, but it really dragged things out to where it kind of needed to be. And then we close out with a song called Oh Why by Leisure, which is just like very interesting. Just very indie and warm, and I'm telling you guys, this is, now that I'm seeing the lyrics like on screen, just like of course the song found me, and like I don't know. It was a nice way to close this one for some reason. But this was a much shorter playlist than like some of my other months, and it's nice because July is a very middle summer month for me. Like I do feel like it's right end of May, June, July, August, very like last week of September to really close out what summer is. Um, and you know, so like this one I don't think was overall like one of my favorite playlists, but I do like the flow of it, and I think like for summer and what you want from it, like it has all of the elements that you really would need or be looking for. You know, you've got a bit of that warm soft rock, some nostalgic dancey elements, you've got the good pop that everybody will be listening to, and some experimental things here and there that like really enhance, you know, other things or complement other sounds. And even like the color palette, it's still very blues and oranges. And, you know, I really liked it for that theme. And I really liked that July always feels like that refill of a meter, or like, um, like I kind of mentioned it in the beginning, just very grounding. So, yeah, I don't know. This is definitely a little bit shorter of a video for us too. Um, and I know I probably was talking a little bit quickly, but I was just excited to kind of start reflecting. And we have a couple of videos to get through for sure. But overall, I do remember liking July a lot. It had a lot of these very special, intimate moments that I wasn't expecting or planning. And it was like there's a comfort in just kind of letting things happen now, and also realizing like your people around you will also have things going on that you get to be a part of. And those are like those very special hidden moments. And I feel like that helps within like show within the photography. Um, you never know the music that like people will show you and influence you a bit, or how they're kind of in line with where you're in line, the messages that music really gives you, to kind of help guide you in life. Like, ask yourself why you're really connecting with certain lyrics or certain sounds that you might not even understand in the moment, but they would make sense to you later. But yeah, so I do like this one. I'm not sure where I place it in my ranking. It's got to be somewhere in the middle, um, of all of the playlists that I've come out with this year. But yeah, again, I wrote my biography for this month, like I think like that first or second week into August. And so like when I was reflecting on this, I reflected on it, and it's because I so enjoyed so much of July as it was to me that it did take away from my focus from being a little bit more creative. I was always adding to the playlist, but I don't think I like focused and like sat down with her until a little bit later on. So I really liked it for that reason. August has a little bit more focus to it and a little bit more creativity, and I can't wait to talk with you guys about August as well as the other coming months. So for now, I thank you for listening to me if you have this far. And if you like these little things, please feel free to follow me, like, share, subscribe. Um, but ultimately, these are for me and my friends, and just to keep track of honestly my personal life. So I wish you all a very good day, and I will talk to you next time.